Let's talk to Nick Ellaby, reporter at the Farmers Club down here in Westminster. Farmers are starting to arrive in their droves. There's busloads of them coming in. There's tractors arriving, people coming in on trains. Nick, how are you doing? How's it looking?
Yeah, good morning, Mike. It's freezing down here, but one farmer in shorts and things already starting to heat up. Yeah. Some of the farmers that are gathered here to protest the inheritance tax changes are already setting up the stage. We're expecting from about 11 o'clock some talks, possibly from Jeremy Clarkson and from other farmers who are apoplectic with rage about the changes to the inheritance tax policy. The government have doubled down, basically saying, you know, they're not rowing back on these changes, and have asked farmers to go back and check with their accountants, because they say, depending on farmers' situations, estates worth up to 3 million could be able to be passed on tax-free. Also a bit of confusion about how many farms this will affect. The NFU saying 70,000 farms could be affected. The government saying only 500 a year will be affected. But the farmers I'm speaking to, really angry. A lot of support for the farmers' protests around here in central London. And these farmers, a lot of them telling me, Mike, they don't feel like they own their farms. They feel like they're the custodians of them, and they just pass them on to the next generation. And this is all about, you know, the farms that people have worked so hard to keep going and protect and provide the country with food. They feel like they're being taken away. They also feel like they're being betrayed by the government. Keir Starmer told the National Farmers Union before he took power that he wouldn't bring in these inheritance tax changes. So really high strength of feeling. We're expecting about 15,000, possibly more farmers on the streets of Westminster and outside Parliament today to make their feelings known, Mike.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you, Nick. Thanks very much indeed. We'll be checking in regularly with you. But get yourself a pair of gloves. I think that might be the thing down there. It's going to be cold all day. There's a winter Arctic blast coming through. Earlier, just before we spoke to Nick on the last hour, we spoke to another farmer called Colin Rayner, who's from Berkshire. Here's what he had to say.
Keir Starmer came and told the farmers at the NFU conference that we would not have any tax rises. And he sat in the hall in front of 3,000 NFU members and lied for an hour. And he's betrayed us. He's lied to the British public. And I don't own my farm. I'm only the caretaker for the next generation. My parents did without in the 70s to keep our farm so we didn't lose it. My great-uncle died on the battlefields of Flanders to keep our farm. Our farm was bombed and strafed by the Germans during the Second World War, and we didn't lose our farm. And we're not going to sit down idly to lose our farms. And if Keir Starmer sold every farm in the UK, there will still not be enough money for the National Health Service. And the farmers can't pay for all their mistakes. And it's about time the people in this country woke up. You need farmers. We produce cheap, healthy, good food. And throughout the world, the farmers have been taxed by the political classes, and we've had enough. And we're going to go out and tell the government our feelings today, because we are angry. My children are angry. My cousins are angry. My uncles are angry. There's a poll in the on Twitter saying that 93% farmers love farmers, only 7% love Starmer. It's about time this Labour government woke up. They have woken a sleeping lion. We will attend every Labour surgery with our tractors. Our tractors are on the way up here now. We will protest. This is our life and blood. Our family have given 500 years of blood to keep our farm, and we're not going to give it up lightly. And this is heartbreaking that they want to destroy the family farm. And it's about, you know, in the times of Russia, when the Russian communists took over the farms after the First World War, at least they had the decency to shoot the farmer before they took their farm. We don't have that privilege.
Powerful words there from Colin Rayner, a farmer from Berkshire, who's obviously very angry, as are many farmers, because they have absolutely no reason to believe that this was going to happen, because Keir Starmer deliberately went to the Farmers Union conference and deliberately told farmers for over an hour that he would not be raising taxes should he be voted in. And in fact, I think I'm right in saying Farmers Weekly, one of the organs that farmers read quite regularly, was actually endorsing Labour as the party to vote for because it would be good for them. Well, that didn't turn out so well, did it? Let's talk to Stephen Thompson, who's a pig farmer from Sheffield, Povey Farm, I believe. Stephen, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to see you here today. Snowing back home in Sheffield, I think. I don't know how early you set off or whether you came down perhaps yesterday. What are you hoping for today, Stephen?
We came down last night.
Ah, OK. What are you hoping to do?
just to show the government that we are upset with what they're suggesting is going to happen. I'm fourth generation farmer. Oliver, our son, works on the farm and he's wanting to take over. But the way things stand, there is no chance of him doing that. We're a small family farm. We've got 200 acres, 200 sows. We've had to diversify into a butchery to keep the farm afloat. We have and our kind of tax bill would be about £80,000 a year for 10 years. I've been farming 40 years. We have never in 40 years made that in 1 year. We have not made money for the last 3 years because of the lack of butchers and grain price spike in Ukraine. We have had no income for 3 years. And how the government thinks that suddenly we can pay tax for 10 years at £80,000 a year, God only knows. I'd be happy to be able to pay that, but food prices will have to double overnight. That's the only way that you can square the circle.
Right. How have they got it so wrong, do you think? Because they seem to have just got everything about this particular equation wrong. You know, they've taken an assumption that all farmers are obviously wealthy, you know, landowning toffs who vote Conservative and drive around in Bentleys. You know, they've got this idea that everybody who lives in off the land has got a massive sort of, you know, house that they can heat, has got a massive tract of land that they can do anything they want with. I mean, they're denying reality here, aren't they?
They are. We've got a 3-year-old Ford Galaxy. We get, if we're really lucky, we get 0.5% return on income on our assets. BP wouldn't do that in the North Sea. We just have no fuel. No other kind of business works on the return that you've got. But the land isn't ours. We're farming it for the next generation, and we just all we want to do is feed people. That's what farmers do. We're not here to make money. It's nice if we do. It keeps the heat on and what have you. But we don't. If we wanted to sell up, we'd make a lot more money by just having it in the bank than we ever do with farming. And you wouldn't be worried when it rains in August and you can't combine.
Rachel Reeves says that you need to pay up because you have to sort of fund the NHS. People have said if the amount of money she's going to get from this tax grab would only keep the NHS going for 1 day.
It is, and the kind of mental problems it's putting on farmers is immense, so that's probably going to be taken up by what she does to farmers. And farmers have got one of the highest suicide rates in the country of any organisation, and that's because farmers have shotguns and they don't have a second chance. So it really is, it's just putting such a strain on farmers' well-being as well as everything else. But it's not just the inheritance tax. They've clobbered us with fertiliser tax, 4x4s, you name it, everything. The payments for growing food have been quartered overnight. That just slipped out in the back door. It just seems as though they just wanted to give farming a good kick-in for no apparent reason.
If you were able to see Rachel Reeves today, if you were able to be allowed up Downing Street to talk to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, what would you say to her?
I'd say she needs to start understanding figures. She says 70% of farms aren't affected by this. 70% of the kind of inheritance tax comes from big houses with a pony paddock in the south of England. That gets you to the 3 million. If you are looking at any size of farm, it's a lot more than that. We're a small family farm. I'm fourth generation, and I did a back of the fag packet calculation. I think our farm's worth about 7 million. And it's just not, we don't have any form of income from that is corresponding to that amount of money tied up. We've got people showing appreciation, that's
excellent.
Nice.
That's good.
But it's just, they don't get it. They really don't get the figures. And it is really worrying when the Chancellor of the Exchequer doesn't understand figures. I despair, really.
Well, she's not really an economist, as we've now discovered. You know, she thought she was. She thought she could tell us she was.
Yes.
But it's now been discovered that it turns out she was just lying. It's tragic, isn't it?
Yes, that's it. And it's just the whole of them were, because before the election, they lied to us about inheritance tax. So really, it seems to be a common thread at the moment. We thought it was bad enough before. but no.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, we did say, people said, well, it can't get any worse. People said it can't get any worse than the Tories. Well, unfortunately, it seems to have done so. But listen, I wish you luck, Stephen. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Stephen Thompson, pig farmer from Povey Farm in Sheffield, family drive a 3-year-old Ford Galaxy. They don't make enough money to pay any tax. They don't make any money at all. Last 3 years, they haven't done it. They've had to open a butchery, he said, to try and make ends meet. You know, the reality of this story is extraordinary.